My video for March 19th, 2019 is video number 3029. The title is Truth is the Casualty of Deep State Propaganda. To me, there are some heroes on this planet who need to be heard more and more if we are ever going to experience a real and meaningful awakening. I just finished watching the video, Corruption and Treason. Robert David Steele exposes the deep state agenda. Crush the Street published it on March 5th, 2019. I have watched many of his videos and see him and Cynthia McKinney as true heroes. Of course, there are more, though most are not as well known. I'm sure you can find that and other videos. Just do an internet search. If humanity is ever going to be set free, we will need to realize how deep the swamp goes and how corrupt the establishment is on this planet. Most of what we have been told are blatant lies with just a little bit of truth mixed in to deceive us. It's been that way for eons. What challenges me is learning that some of those I have respected for a long time, like Benjamin Fulford, for example, may, in sad fact, be disinformation agents. Yes, I'm guilty of taking the hopium. After all, I want positive change for humanity, at least those of us who are willing to embrace the truth, even when it challenges our preconceptions. We've all bought the propaganda. Can we let it go? Our future depends on exactly that. Yesterday, which was Sunday, and this is the video for Tuesday, so everything's always that way. It's a day behind for me. I attended a lecture that was given by a couple that just came back from Egypt. And of course, a good part of that lecture was on the pyramids. And I didn't interject a whole lot, except to say that a little man built Coral Castle, which my son is visiting. Actually, yesterday he visited Coral Castle in South Florida, which was built at night by a man who lifted these huge blocks of coral, big stones, huge stones that weigh, I think it weighs 3-4 tons, the door to the Coral Castle, which when it was built, you could push with your finger and it would swing open, the big gate. It's of course worn out, and modern technology cannot reproduce and make that gate work that way again. They've had to do it with machinery. It's very different. And the pyramids in Egypt are the same way. The Egyptians didn't build them. They're much more ancient than that. And as I said in a previous video, we're finding that there's a lot of pyramids in in places on Earth where there's more rainfall and stuff than there is in Egypt. There's many places that have pyramids, and the Great Pyramid isn't even the largest one on the planet. The largest one on the planet may, and I say may because we may not have even found them all yet, but may be in Europe, as a matter of fact. But as I said in the video, Robert David Steele, who worked for the CIA and other intelligence agencies, has been trying to get Trump and others to create a new system that makes abundance something that flows to everyone. And Cynthia McKinney is part of that. And of course, she was a congresswoman from Georgia. And Dennis Kucinich, another congressman from Ohio, from Cleveland area, are two politicians that I see as people that were trying to tell the truth. And of course, there have been other ones as well that were trying to get the truth out. But the truth and the truth tellers are often greatly persecuted, and in some cases murdered themselves, or family members murdered. They have to go through a lot of challenges that are created by those that want to keep the system going, the establishmentarians, I call them, those that want to uphold the establishment. The establishment is a corrupt institution as we've known it for eons of time. And again, eons of time is how long ago the pyramids were built. So it's all of this dovetails in and is part of a bigger picture. We have been lied to by so much of what we believe is true, because as I said, there's a little bit of truth told in the mainstream story, but there's so much lies that the truth loses its relevance. We do need to love one another. That is a basic truth. But when we've been lied to, we've had put in place an us versus them attitude that puts us in conflict with each other so that we can't even communicate things that would bring positive changes. And I find myself looking up at the Venetian blinds instead of at the camera, and I should be looking at the camera. I just realized my gaze was at a different place. But folks, I have been talking for such a long time about a real awakening, because that's what it needs. We need to be able to learn the truth that is embedded in all of the propaganda, which are lies. We need to be able to have greater and greater discernment. Discernment is one of the gifts of the Spirit that is so essential. And yet, even churches and religious institutions that teach discerning of spirits think that discerning of spirits is understanding the books that we've been left, whether it's the Bible, mostly the Bible, but other things in other cultures have been left as pinnacles of truth. And there is truth in them, but they are not the truth. Just as Egyptians building the pyramids is not the truth. Modern Egyptians, and even Egyptians going back a few thousand years, or however old they think that the pyramids are, they're actually much older than that, because the technology, even 5,000 years ago or 6,000 years ago or whatever, was not what it was 100,000 years ago. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Earth is much older and has gone through many cataclysms over the course of the history of the planet. Not human history, but the history of the planet. Humans have not always looked like we look now exactly. There are similarities, obviously, but structure of the skull and other things are different. And we have archaeological discoveries pointing these things out. There are many things that are coming to light now in the latter part of actually in the 20th century and now in the 21st century. There are things that are coming to light that have been suppressed for a long time, and there's still those in the establishment that want to keep those things suppressed because they don't want us to know the truth. We need to listen to things like Robert David Steele, and Trump needs to listen to him, and we need to pay attention to people that are trying to sound the alarm, as I've been doing for a long time. Thank you, folks, for listening, and namaste.